Are you team apple cider or pumpkin spice? Personally, I love them both and I can never get enough of either of them in the fall season. So today I've got two great treats that you can make for your family and friends. Whole foods, plant-based, and easy and delicious, because that's what I like to do. And if you're new here, I'm Dina. Welcome. Thanks so much for tuning into my video. I appreciate it so much. So I'm going to jump right in with the first treat, which is an apple cider quick bread. It has the notes that you love about those absolutely amazing apple cider donuts. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? They're sweet, spicy, and have just a little bit of a kick. So that's what we're going for here today with this quick apple bread. And I'm going to start by simply mixing together my dry ingredients. And at the end of the video, when the breads are all ready, I will post on screen all of the ingredients that I'm using today, and I will leave the full recipe and instructions in the description box below. So let's get started. I have 2 cups of oat flour, which if you don't keep oat flour on hand, that's fine. I just took some of my organic sprouted oats and blended them up real quick in the blender, and you can just do that. I always have those on hand. It's a pantry staple here. I love having oats on hand. They're great for all kinds of whole foods recipes. They're also great for breakfast, of course. And I have 3 tablespoons of ground flax. And we're going to mix together the dry ingredients first before we put together the wet ingredients. And here for the apple spice, I have a full tablespoon of apple pie spice, which is a blend of cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. And I have about a half a teaspoon of cardamom, and I have about a half a teaspoon of salt. So if you want it spicy, like I really like them, I recommend using a full tablespoon of the apple pie spice, or you can just use cinnamon if you can't find the apple pie spice, and maybe just a little pinch of nutmeg. But the cardamom really brings out the fall flavors too, so I recommend, if you can find the cardamom, to add it in. It makes a big difference in the end flavor in all things. I think pumpkin pie, gingerbread, all of those kind of things. Just a little bit of cardamom makes a big difference. And here I have just a teaspoon each of baking powder and baking soda. And that's it for the dry ingredients. Pretty simple. You want to make sure this is mixed pretty well, because you want your baking soda and baking powder and all of your spices really going through all of it so they get distributed nice and evenly, so you don't have a wonky, lumpy, or half risen, half flat bread. You don't want any of that. Also, you want to check and make sure you don't have any clumps or lumps of baking soda, which can happen and can be pretty disgusting to bite into. So that looks good. And here I have 2 medium, I have Cosmic Crisp apples, but you can use whatever kind of apples that you have on hand, or whatever your favorite kind of apples are. These are what I could find organic, and I just have chopped them up into about 1/2-inch pieces. And tell me in the comments if you are one of the people who absolutely loves apple picking in the fall. I love it, and I'm looking forward to trying to make a trip to the next state up, which is North Carolina, which has a fantastic orchard not too far away. I'm hoping to go visit soon. So I'm just going to mix these in. Oh, and I added a cup of chopped walnuts, which are optional. It turns out great if you leave those out, or you could use pecans, but I like the walnuts in there too. A little bit of healthy fat and super tasty. So you just want to coat your apples and your walnuts in the oat flour mixture, and that helps keep them from all like clumping up or sinking to the bottom of the bread, which we don't want. We want the whole bread to be full of apples and walnuts. I'm going to set that aside, and I also have set aside, let me not drop it, some thinly sliced apples to go on top of the bread, which is optional, but makes it look really pretty. So if you're sharing it at a family gathering or with your friends on a fall picnic, it looks so appetizing. So let's move on to the wet ingredients. I have here, what I'm starting with is a cup of dates. These are medjool dates. They were a little bit on the smaller side this time, but you can use any kind of date. I have a cup of these that I had soaked in warm water. I'm just going to blend those up real quick. And that will be our sweetener for the apple bread. And I'm just going to throw a cup of applesauce in with the dates and blend these up together because the dates are acting like they don't want to blend up. And maybe my blade is getting a little old. A little old like me. Not real old, just a little old. Okay, that did the trick. That looks a little bit better. And Rock is coming over to see what I'm doing, if I have any more apple scraps for him, because he likes apples and we've both been snacking on them while I chop them up and slice them up. And here I have 1 cup of soy milk. You can use any kind of plant milk that you like to use, cashew, oat milk, almond milk, whatever you like to use, but I had soy milk on hand for another recipe, so that's what I'm using here. And I have added to it a full 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, which is going to give this that apple cider kick that you love in the hot apple cider and in the donuts. It kind of curdles a little bit and makes a vegan buttermilk. It's super delicious. It makes your baked goods turn out nice and tender. I'm just going to mix these wet ingredients together real quick. And I almost forgot a very important ingredient. Some vanilla, which I have a little spice rack over here, and this is definitely not vanilla, that's almond. Let's see. Where I wrote on them has worn off, so I just have to smell them to see what's what. That's vanilla. So about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of vanilla. And this is some homemade vanilla and almond extract. And I have a video on how to make your own extract if you're interested. It's a really fun project to do with your kids or just for yourself in the kitchen. I love doing it. And then, you have like a big jar of extracts that you can pull from for all of your fall and holiday baking and just kind of use throughout the year. I have one started here, and it's just in an old rum bottle. This isn't rum, it's just an old rum bottle that I got from a family member. It would take me a very long time to drink a whole entire bottle of liquor or rum, but if you have a family member that keeps a full stocked liquor cabinet, ask them for a bottle. I like this brand of rum bottle because it's a pretty bottle for one, but it has a really good cork too. So there's some homemade vanilla. It's still kind of brewing, so it just gets better and better the longer you let it sit. So I'm just, what is it, Biscuit? Now the cat's harassing me again. So I'm just going to add my wet ingredients to my dry ingredients. See, this is a very simple recipe, very easy and very quick. I'm just going to fold that in without over mixing. just gently kind of fold it in until everything's mixed. Just mixed, and we don't want to overdo it. And I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees, which is what both of these breads will bake at. And it smells so good once you start mixing it up. And once it goes in the oven and starts baking, your house is going to smell so amazing. Okay, and I just have a bread pan here. I brushed mine with a small amount of avocado oil. If you don't want to use oil, or if you're using a glass pan, I would recommend just lining it with parchment paper. Or if you have a silicone baking pan, those are great also. So just right into the pan. And I'm just going to gently kind of press it till it's evenly in the pan. It's not going to rise very much. It'll rise a little bit with the baking soda. It'll be nice and tender, but it will be a little bit dense because, of course, it's oat flour unsifted, but it's still going to be really soft and tender. So I'm just going to line it with my apple slices. And it looks like we have a few slices left over for me and Rock to snack on. So this is going to go into the oven at 350 for about 35 to 45 minutes. Oven temperatures vary, so just check on it. I would say at 35 minutes, put a little toothpick like down right beside the apples and see if it comes out clean, or if it's still gooey, it might need another 5 minutes. But I think top of the limit would be 45 minutes. You want to get it out before it overbakes. And the next recipe is a classic and a family favorite, one that my husband has already asked me when I'll be making this fall. So this one's for you, Mr. Tony. Here is some pumpkin bread. So I'm going to start again with my dry ingredients, and I have in here about 3/4 of a cup of almond flour, and the rest to make 2 cups is oat flour. And this is just such a classic pumpkin spice bread, a classic recipe I worked on for a while to get it right using whole foods. One of the things when I first went vegan that I really missed were the holiday baked goods, which of course I had no idea how to make without processed sugar, eggs, and dairy. But I practiced a long time, I figured it out, and I found a way, and this is one of those comforting classic recipes that even if you have somebody that's not vegan, they are not going to be able to tell the difference that there's no eggs or dairy in this bread. So I just added my pumpkin spice, my salt, and a little extra cinnamon, because in my opinion the pumpkin spice doesn't have quite enough. A little bit of salt, and a little bit of cardamom. And again, I'll leave those measurements in the description box below, as well as at the end of the video. I'll have them where you can get them in a screenshot also. And I also have a ½ teaspoon each of baking powder and baking soda. Just mix these together, fluff them up a little bit before we move on to our wet ingredients, which might look like a lot, but it comes together really quickly. And one thing I've found in the kitchen is that when you have everything out and ready to go like this, it comes together quickly. And also, cleanup is a breeze. You can just kind of stack your little prep bowls together to the side, move them to the sink, and it only takes a couple minutes to wash everything up. So it's always good to have your stuff all set out. Mise en place is what they call that. So I'm going to start with, of course, the star of the show, pumpkin puree. And I just have a good quality 15-ounce can of organic pumpkin puree, but if you have some pumpkins from your garden, you can certainly bake those and blend them up, which I have done in the past, and I'll probably do a few this fall as well when the sugar baby pumpkins show up in the grocery store, because I didn't grow any this year. The deer ate my vines and the vine borers ate the rest, and I have 0 pumpkins this year. This is just a cute little one I bought at the local grocery store. I thought he was really interesting. He's called a fireball pumpkin. Thought he was really cute and interesting, so there he is. But he definitely will end up on the dinner table soon. Poor guy. So I have also 3 tablespoons of almond butter. I have a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, and I have 2 tablespoons of molasses, which I highly recommend. The molasses just gives it a deep, rich flavor. I highly recommend not skipping it. I just love molasses in fall and holiday baked goods. It gives just such a rich, unique flavor. And I have a teaspoon of vanilla, and I have about a 1/4 cup of soy milk. You can use, again, any kind of plant-based milk. And I have a flax egg, which is just 1 tablespoon of flax and 3 tablespoons of water. And I have my sweetener here, and I have 3/4 cup of a natural sweetener. You can use whatever sweetener you like. I'll link the one I'm using in the description box, but it is a blend of monk fruit and allulose, which is the sweetness that you get from dates. And my almond butter was a little bit thick because when I first opened it, I poured off some of the oil, so now it's like really thick. So you should be able to mix yours just with a wooden spoon, but I'm gonna have to get out the hand mixer and make sure that almond butter is incorporated in there. All right, that looks good. And as you can tell, I could only find one of these guys. I don't know what happens to stuff in my drawers in the kitchen. I don't know. I looked through every drawer and could only find this one single solitary paddle for my hand mixer. I know the other one is here somewhere, but who knows? Who knows? I found everything else I didn't know I needed and wasn't looking for, but I couldn't find the one thing I needed. But one was sufficient and we look good. So I'm going to start adding just half at a time my dry ingredients and get those mixed in. This is not quite as thick of a batter as the apple bread was, but it will bake up nice and fluffy. And it's okay if there's a few lumps in there. They will bake out, it won't matter. So if it looks a little bit lumpy, you can mix it with the hand mixer, or if you have a big like KitchenAid stand mixer, you can throw everything in there and mix it. But I just really didn't feel like getting that thing out and hauling it around the kitchen. It's heavy. It's also kind of a hassle to clean up. So in the bowl with a wood spoon is what works for me. And I'm just going to pour this into my bread pan, which again I have just put a little bit of avocado oil in there to make sure my bread doesn't stick. But you could also just line it with parchment paper. Pour as much as I can into my pan, because if I leave too much in here, I'll just end up spooning it out of there raw and eating it. I love raw cake batters and bread batters. I always have, even as a kid, loved to lick the spoon and the bowls when Mom would make cakes, which was great. And back then we weren't like super worried about, contamination or salmonella, which I never got, by the way. eating raw cake and cookie dough batters never made me sick. Just, you know, I'm just putting that out there. Don't call the food police on me, please. So into the oven, this one is going to go to at preheated at 350 degrees, and this one will take about 50 to 55 minutes. And while my breads are baking away in the oven, I'm going to show you a quick and simple glaze that will go excellent on either of these breads. Totally optional. These breads are great on their own, or maybe you can put a little almond butter or cashew butter on them when you cut a slice. But this glaze is so easy to put together, and it's delicious on anything really. You can put it on your pancakes in the morning, on the top of your smoothie bowls. It's so good, but it's really good on top of fall baked goods too. So I just have about 1/3 of a cup of cashews that I have been soaking while I put my breads together. And I have about 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Nice and sweet and delicious. You could use date syrup also, or agave nectar. And I just have about 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and just a pinch of salt, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Because anytime you have something sweet, you also need to have just a little bit of salt in there to bring out the flavor. And this is somewhere you could use like a light salt as well if you're salt free, or a salt substitute, or you can just leave it out. So I'm just going to blend this up, and that's it. And I really love my small little sauce blender for this. It works perfectly for these kind of things. And you want to let that go until it's nice and smooth and creamy, and you don't have any chunks of cashew in there. I think I'll just pour this right into my little bowl that I had my maple syrup in. Oh, yum, yum. And I'm just going to set this aside and try not to eat it while my bread finishes baking and cooling. It smells so good in here. It smells so amazing. A nice little chill fall day. It's kind of gloomy outside. Have all the chill fall vibes today. I've got some Snoopy music playing in the background. Really nice. So that's just nice and smooth and creamy. The perfect consistency for a glaze. So I cannot wait for this bread to cool off a little bit so I can have a piece. So both of my breads are out of the oven and have cooled off. The pumpkin is still a little bit warm. I'm not going to cut into that one yet, but I cannot wait to try a slice of this apple bread. Look how beautiful it turned out. It looks so good. I'm just going to cut off a good sized chunk here. Oh, and it smells so good in this house. Oh, good. Oh, all of the apples are just kind of evenly distributed through there with the walnut. It looks so good. I can't wait to try this. I'm going to top it with a little bit of this glaze. Just a little bit. And it's nice and tender, and the apples look like they're a little bit soft and chewy. So yummy. I really hope you'll try at least one of these recipes. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and make sure to give the video a like if you haven't already. And if you haven't already, also subscribe to the channel. You made it this far, you might as well subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.